For fight number 4 in this series, we're tackling the Juleeve Council. Now, once again, as in the prior videos, if you want to do Nightmare mode, make sure you're looking at the purple background. If you're seeing the classic gold and red background, you're still on regular Hell mode. And you need to click this button that says Nightmare mode to switch over to the Nightmare version of this fight. If you can't complete this fight, just do the standard Hell mode. You have access to the same shop. You still get currency for the same shop doing regular Hell mode. This is the team that I use for Juleeve Council. I think Destina is very difficult to replace. Destina is, well, first of all, she's a green unit, and you need to have 4 green units on the team. I'll explain here in a minute why. The key is to try to get her as close to 200 effect resistance as possible. I've got 35% plus 20%, so I got 55% from this artifact. I'm way over the 200% cap. If you can get there without using this artifact, you can use a more beneficial artifact. Change her EE to the one that dispels when she does an S1, and now you've got the ability to cleanse on all 3 of her skills. And that's important because this boss spams debilitative injury-causing debuffs. Number 2 on my team is Vivian. Now, she's not required, but she's really, really good for this fight. Most people have her. She's got an EE that dispels 1 debuff from all allies when she does her S3. That's huge. She also grants immunity, also huge. I gave her Daydream Joker so she could do some damage. Mine is built to hit pretty hard because I use her to clear the mobs on a lot of hunts. Yours doesn't have to be hard hitting, that's just a perk. Now, if you don't have Daydream Joker, you could run this artifact. It will give her a lot more attack and make her more survivable because most people's Vivians aren't built to take hits. And that one will reduce her incoming damage. Mine is squishy and still made it fine, but you pick whichever poison you prefer. Next, I'm running Zahhak. Zahhak is a great green DPS for a couple reasons. One, his S2 skill is a self-cleanse. It also, his S1 skill, you can soul burn for extra turns, and you need to be able to soul burn in this fight. You get towards the end, you get punished for not soul burning, so he's great because his soul burn is always accessible on his S1 and it only costs 10 souls. Again, Daydream Joker. Third, I picked Bellona. You could really run any ranger. I think green Pavel would work fine. Any ranger that doesn't drop a whole bunch of debuffs. Now, I know Bellona does have a defense break in her kit, so I purposely ran her effectiveness all the way down. I changed out her ring and dropped her to 30 effectiveness to reduce her chance to land debuffs on the council. It's kind of an interesting tech and a way to help you proceed through this fight better. I put her on Bloodstone. It basically makes her a secondary healer. And you'll notice I also took off her EE. Her EE gives you effectiveness, or exclusive equipment I should say, gives you effectiveness, and I didn't want any effectiveness on my Bellona, so none of her exclusive equipments really even help you in this fight, so take that off and you can reduce your effectiveness even lower. If you go with another ranger like Pavel, that's not as big of a deal. Once again, very important for this fight is take the Guardian Kazran. Kazran has an AoE cleanse when you launch him and also grants an AoE attack buff, and he does a CR push as well, so very useful Guardian to take into the new Nightmare Labyrinths. Now, the reason we need an all-green team is because when all 4 of your characters are green, when the council splits into 3 individual parts, it'll highlight in gold which one is the one you need to kill first. So it makes that split phase a lot easier. It takes the guesswork out of knowing which one to kill. Also in the split phase, the target unit will have a buff above its head, and that buff lets you do 50% more damage, so you'll be able to clear the split phase faster. So basically you need all green units for this. As with my prior videos, I tried to make sure I selected teams that could full auto all the way to the boss. Now, there is one fight in here that's a little bit dangerous at that intersection, but if you die, you've still got Destina who can raise. Just switch over to manual, raise them in that last fight, and you'll be good to go. You get to this corner, you'll once again be at 23 morale, so we'll go ahead and camp. That'll push our morale up to the maximum level, give us 5% more health for the fight.
For years now, the situation in Sidonia has failed to improve.
As Destina, the Spirit Lord of Light, I give you my blessing. May the brightest light shine upon you.
And that puts us at the maximum morale threshold. Now use these small blue potions in the corner to clean up any health that you might have lost in the prior fights, and you'll be ready to jump into the fight. Now, Juleeve Council is almost more of a gear and unit check than anything else. The fight itself is not that difficult. It's just a bit of a pain to do. So you can see the Venom debuff over there on Vivian. Those will stack and they do give injury, so you want to get rid of them. Zahhak's S2 skill will cleanse that off of Vivian, and then he can S3 and do damage. If you do an attack into Juleeve Council that debuffs, it'll automatically turn that debuff into a buff, and those can be debilitative. So you want to be careful about dropping any unit into this team that can debuff. Right now Bellona is the only unit on the team that potentially has a debuff, and because I lowered her effectiveness, I'm hoping that doesn't mess with me too much. Now, you can see with the EE on Vivian, I'm able to cleanse one of those venoms off of everybody. That's why I was saving it. Now I've got immunity up, and that will keep more venoms from sticking, though Juleeve Council does dispel when it attacks. The nice thing is the immunity buff was nested behind the attack buff, so it remained on Zahhak, gave me an extra round to not have to worry about Venom. Now Juleeve Council will do its ultimate, which is an AoE strip, and it applies debuffs, and I believe it ignores effect resistance. The immunity protected me on the 2 units, but there's no way it penetrated Destina's effect resistance, so I'm assuming it ignores ER when it drops that debuff. Once you get to 66% health, you get to the first break phase. In the break phase, going ahead and debuffing is fine, so you can rip Bellona's S3 here, no problem. You'll notice one of the mosquito clouds has a little symbol above it and is glowing in gold. That's the one that you need to kill to progress the stage. You don't get this glowing gold aura and buff above it letting you know which one to target if you have a non-green unit anywhere on the team.
How will the battle go? Can you hold out for more?
So as you can see, I got the defense break on that middle one. It doesn't matter that much, but it shows that it is okay to defense break in the split phase. Once you kill the mosquitoes, you go back to the main Juleeve at the 66% health mark and start pushing it lower. This second half of the fight is really the same as the first half of the fight. You're just trying to stay ahead of the venoms. Remember to keep your Vivian S3 in your back pocket because it can cleanse. Remember, Destina's S3 can cleanse everybody. You can soul burn Destina's S1, which will also cleanse because she's got the cleanse EE. Her S2 will give you a targeted cleanse. So I'm going to go ahead and get that off of Vivian. You can see the injury is starting to add up on the units. It wasn't quite a full hit. So if you let those venoms get out of control, they will injure you so bad that it's tough to push forward. I'm going to speed this up just a little bit because it's basically the same fight as in phase 1. You use your cleanse skills to try to stay ahead of the debuffs, try to make sure that venom doesn't stack too heavily on anybody. Now, poor Vivian is getting a lot of venom debuffs on her, and she's got the lowest HP of all of the units, so of all the units, she's the one I don't want venom debuffs on. So this will be a good time to pop the Kazran skill. It'll get rid of some of those debuffs. It reduces them all by 1, so it's going to look like it left a whole bunch behind, but it didn't really. It just took some that were 2-turn debuffs and dropped them to 1 turn. Now, between the venom buffs that were left behind and the pop damage you take every single time somebody takes an action, this phase can be very, very dangerous. You've got to manage to get through it as quickly as possible so that you'll be able to tackle the last part of the fight. The last part of the fight is kind of difficult, so burst through this as fast as you can.
I've been waiting for this moment. Release mana.
It's okay to use Bellona's S3 here because defense breaks are actually valuable, and because she's on Bloodstone, the S3 does a good amount of healing. I'm in really bad shape right here. I'm going to use Zahhak's S2 to cleanse. This last part, pretty much every single turn you take, Juleeve Council puts more venoms on you, and they just start stacking up. I'm going to burn Destina's S1 because with her EE that will let me, cleanse. Looking at my, Vivian's S3 is going to be ready, so I can get immunity up if I push her up. So instead of burning the S1, I'm going to push Vivian up because she's really low on health. This will heal her, it'll get rid of her venom debuff, and then she can use her S3. This will get rid of one of the venom buffs on everybody and put up immunity so that I won't get any more venom buffs stacked up.
I will do my best.
Now the only venom buff that's left is on Destina, or is on Bellona.
I present to you the greatest
So I should be good to go. Now you see the little frowny face underneath the green bar for Juleeve Council. This is the special mechanic I was talking about. Juleeve will continue to do more and more damage. That frowny face will get more and more angry, and he'll hit harder and harder and harder. And the only way to get rid of that frowny face is with soul burns. If you soul burn, it immediately gets rid of it. Part of why you can't do this on auto. You get punished for not soul burning. And Juleeve will wipe your team if you let that frowny face get to, maybe level 3. So as soon as it's back, you can soul burn again. Zahhak is really nice here because Zahhak has a 10 soul burn and it's on his S1. Now a little bit of a misplay. I didn't soul burn there, and I should have, and it cost Vivian her life, but luckily we have Destina who can bring everybody back to life with her S3. And that brought her back in time to soul burn her S2, and that gets rid of the frowny face.
I'll make you useful. Resist as much as you
Using Zahhak's S2 just to give him an attack buff. Luckily the mosquitoes left Vivian alone this fight,
for this moment.
And
the Bloodstone healed her up enough to survive that hit. I'm starting to stack up the venom debuffs again, but with the soul burn I get rid of the frowny face, and with a cleanse on Destina I can push up Bellona, and even with this hit probably killing somebody, the next hit from Bellona is going to end the fight. So a little bit sloppy in places. I probably could have managed the debuffs a little better, but you get the idea. Every unit having some ability to cleanse is key. All the EEs, all of the healers, having Bloodstone on Bellona or on your Ranger for an extra heal, making sure no debuffers are on the team, and Zahhak is a real champion for this one. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it helps you clear Juleeve Council. You can substitute any of the 3 damage units really, just pick ones that don't debuff and try to find ones that have cleanses, and you should be fine. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments section, and if you enjoyed the content, give a like and consider maybe subscribing. Have a great one.